Okay, we're on. Thank you. My name is Eddie Robertson, and I'm Vice Chairman of the Public Works Committee. Our chairman is running just a little late, but he's on his way. He's asked me to go ahead and begin, so I'll call the meeting to order. We have a quorum. And first of all, we have an agenda. Are there any changes or a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
All right, and I'll second, and it's unanimous. So next is the meeting minutes. I've looked over them. If there are any changes or a motion, I'll entertain it.
Motion to approve.
Second it, pass unanimously. Citizen comments. We have no citizen comments tonight. So ordinances and resolutions, if it's okay, I'd like to change that because I think the chairman needs to be here for that. So why don't we do some of the other items below? And Sarah, why don't we start with the trash collection update? Let's do 2. Let's not do 3. Let's do 2 and jump down to 7 and maybe 5. 2, 5, and 7, and maybe by then the chairman will be here. So Sarah, would you take us through a update on the trash collection?
Yes, absolutely. So the total reported misses for last month were 132. There's a notation that we were closed due to the snow from the 15th to the 20th. So there were no misses put in associated with that event since we had communicated that we were not going to be collecting that week. But after that, there was a spike. Almost 20 misses for the one day, but they recovered very quickly. So it's all good news there.
Good. So during snow events, there's good communication between the company and the staff.
This year went very smoothly,
good.
I believe. Yeah.
Got good systems in place.
Yes.
Okay.
It was consistent. Very
good. Any questions regarding trash? Okay, thank you. So let's go to number 5. The Saundersville Road Roundabout verbal update. This is an issue that we've had some citizen complaints about the roundabout and for trucks running over the ground around it. So staff has been looking at that and I think talking with the developer. So can you give us an update on that?
Yes, we did meet with the developer, with their engineers, and I believe that we have come to some agreement on what the outstanding items are. And so some of those areas where, even though the turning template shows trucks should be able to navigate the roundabout using that center island that's mountable without intruding into the medians, they are going to remove some of the landscaping in those median areas and provide a hardscape to mitigate that constant puddling and mess that you see there. They are also going to be pulling some of the signs back that are not necessarily, they're more recommended in the roundabout in those areas. They're not necessarily required. They're going to pull some of those back outside of the roundabout to mitigate the sign issues, the repetitive sign issues. And then this week, some of you may have heard there was an issue where the mast arm at Saundersville Road that they had replaced as part of that project was moving up and down quite a bit. And there was a lot of concern about fatigue and safety and all those things. So they have concern the design was appropriate, but there's a dampener that they needed to put on there. So they're going to be installing that this week. They're going to get a dampener on there to mitigate the movement of that mast arm. So we have not accepted the project yet, but we are moving forward with working towards
We
that.
still have a bond on the project.
That's right.
Okay.
Yes.
So no plans to widen it or ease the edges on the turning radius?
No, I mean, the truck template shows that those design vehicles, which are the delivery trucks, should be able to navigate it appropriately. So it's somewhat user error, but they're going to mitigate the impacts that we're seeing through those hardscapes. And I think that'll.
So they're going to widen our hardscapes.
So some of the areas where it's grassed or maybe there's some trees or things like that, they're going to be, I can't remember if we've settled on the actual material or not, but we had talked about maybe some stamped concrete or some stone with some sort of like grouting, something like that, a hardscape for them to be able to maneuver over without causing a mess, essentially.
Yeah, it's those rutted out areas that you see.
Mm-hmm.
So where those rutted out areas are, that's where they're going to put that hardscape in there. So it's not going to be like loose gravel. It'll be something that's kind of like concrete, except it'll have a nice texture to it. So that should help mitigate when people run up over that, that it won't do any damage. Plus, it was damaging some things, the irrigation system as well over there. So this should help that.
So we have this situation in several places around town. I get pictures constantly from Bruce Elementary where we've continued to place more and more asphalt and the drivers cut the corner even sharper and sharper and sharper. And we also have one in my subdivision as well.
And Steve Jackson at the bank constantly.
Yes.
You know,
Oh, yeah,
That's
his-
a problem there at
Oh, that's a
Cracker
huge
Barrel.
problem right there.
Excuse me.
So,
Yeah.
well, thank you, Sarah. I think we look forward to improvements.
It's on that ways.
So the boss has arrived. So, Mr. Chairman, we have worked through the preliminaries. We have taken up other items on trash update
Right.
and Sandersville Road roundabout. We held the meaty topics until you got here.
Oh, okay.
So it's up to you how you want to proceed with the agenda, but we have handled number 2 and number 5.
2 and 5. All right. Let me write that down. Thank you very much. I got you. And again, I am sorry about tonight, but if you live in Hendersonville, when I say traffic, you know what I'm talking about. So my apologies. Hopefully it won't happen very much more. Maybe one more. There might be one more meeting after in March sometime that I might be late, but hey, I truly don't like to wait to let you guys wait, nor do I like to let our constituency in Hendersonville wait. So we addressed, 2 and 5, and then you guys can catch me up on that, after our meeting. Okay, well, let's see here. Do we have anybody on citizens? Those are the first things. No? Okay. We're just going to, since it's Public Works Committee, we're going to just really do a hodgepodge. Did we do the minutes?
Yes.
We did? Okay.
Yes, and acceptance of agenda. We did all of the.
All that? Okay.
We
Good deal.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and do the reading of the ordinance 2024-02, an ordinance amending the Hendersonville Code establishing impact fees for the city of Hendersonville. First of all, I need a motion.
Motion.
Okay.
second.
And there's a proper motion and a proper second, so let's talk about it. Okay. Where are we on this? Where did it go through? Tell us, Keith,
Yes.
what's been going on with it.
Where we're at right now is this went to the general committee
Yes,
and
sir.
moved through the general committee.
Okay.
But since this is related to a lot of issues related to future park improvements
Mhm.
and property acquisition of parkland in
Right.
the future, then it was appropriate for it to come to
Here.
the Public Works.
Yes.
So we have it right now, and so what we have before you this evening is what we had. There's been no changes from the general committee. They just kind of moved it forward. So what we have here this evening is a study that's been completed by a consultant for development impact fees, limited to residential development. So it would just be development impact fees that would be paid when you got a permit for single family house and multifamily apartment units. And it would be based on the number of units would be what you would pay. The projected payments at this time would be for single family homes would be
Right.
$7,197.
Let me write that down.
$7,197
Okay.
that you would pay when you get a permit.
Right.
And then for multifamily units and single family, that includes townhomes. So townhomes are included not multifamily, in townhomes, but multifamily is just like apartments and things like that.
Right.
And that would be $4,871 a unit. And this would, looking at it, this could potentially generate over $30 million over the next 10 years. And then the question might be, well, where would that money go? And that money would be used to pay for an expansion of levels of service in our parks system. that would include improvements that would expand existing park uses and amenities, as well as purchase additional park land. And then the study, so the city has the ability to do development impact fees because of our state law allows us to assess fees. And then what this whole thing is with the study that we did
Right.
is to be able to defend, well, how much are you charging and how you come up with that and what are you going to do with it? There are a lot of particulars about this. It's limited. So, when we're talking about development impact fees, the way we're proposing to do it now, limited to residential development and only going to park amenities. This isn't anything that's going to build new roads and things like that, or expand the police force or fire. This is just limited to parks. And you have in your packet, we did a comparison of other communities of what types of
Page 39.
yeah, page 39, on what kind of impact fees that other communities have. So you can kind of compare that. I don't think anybody that we compared has exactly what we're talking about doing. And this is revisiting back in 2019. Everybody's probably familiar. We had development impact fees. That was the whole smorgasbord of everything, that covered police, fire, parks, roads, and everything you can imagine. And that that was not successful as we looked into that. And there were, just in comparison, there's more complications when we're looking at all of those other things with fire, police, and roads. It gets more complicated, and the commitment from the community or from the city is more substantial. And this path that we're looking to go down now, which is limited to residential development and then impacting parks, and to be honest with you, it's the simplest way to do it at the least risk for the city, into the future. And it addresses, at the base of it, it is the reason that we're looking at and considering impact fees is that new growth does, and I think we can all admit, new growth does generate the need for new services or expanded services. And so the parks department that served us so well and continues to serve us so well, as we grow another 11 or 12,000 people in the next 10 years, then we're looking for the same level of service we have now, but then with more people, to really keep the level of service that we have to expand the different things that we have and the amount of acreage that we have for parks. So in looking at it in the totality, you're looking at new development paying for the expanded need to expand the level of service in our parks. So existing development is already paying for what we have, and new development will also help pay for what we already have. But new development is spurring the need to consider new revenue sources that would be a way for us to tackle how we would address expanding our park system. And in this study, and it can change, we're just at the initial look at it, but looking at it, we're looking at over the next 10 years, roughly about $24 million that would go to purchasing property and about $6 million that would go to expanding amenities within the park. And this isn't maintenance or redoing a parking lot or something like that. This is expanding the level of service. And so the amount of acres that we're talking about potentially purchasing over the next 10 years would be a potential of about 80 to 88 acres. And then to come up with that number, the way all that's calculated, looking at a per acre cost, I think was it 275?
So we added 275.
Yeah.
Basis.
So looking at about 275 an acre, but actually just last week, and it's in here, we did a kind of an update of that, and actually it's really well over 300, 372. So it's even more than that.
Yeah.
So this is still conservative, even though it's looking it's looking like it's substantial.
Well, I have trouble
Yeah.
keeping my checkbook, so the math on here floored me. So I'm hoping that y'all will verify the math.
Yes.
We have some questions.
Yes,
Go
sir.
ahead.
on page 39, it shows a list of various municipalities. And it shows how some have adopted impact fees. Am I correct in saying that if we pass this proposal by the consultant, that we will be the only one in the state that has impact fees directly targeted for parks? I mean, it's what it shows here, but I don't know if this is a
Yeah. this
fair
is-
representation.
It's just, it's just Middle Tennessee.
Yeah,
that we
just-
looked at.
So we'd be the only one in Middle Tennessee. Now-
Can I speak on that?
Yes, sir, go
Okay.
ahead.
So, those of you here 5 years ago we did this, one of the reasons that it failed was because a lot of aldermen, rightly so, were concerned about the impact this would have on businesses. That when we looked at designated the money for police, fire, public works, and parks, that money was going to come from business construction and from residential construction. When Tennessee state law gets involved, one of the things that we noticed and our consultants noticed was that businesses should not contribute toward parks because they're not using the parks. They're using the roads, they're using the public works, they're using fire, they're using police. They should not contribute toward parks. So after this failed a couple of years ago, and Keith and I got together later on and listened to some of the comments, we realized that there was some merit in people who said, we don't want to discourage businesses from coming here. And if we want to go down that same route that we did a couple of years ago, the same argument could be made that we're going to be discouraging businesses from coming here. So the way to avoid that is to just address parks, and that money would only come from residential. It won't come from businesses. If in the future we want to add to that and we want to do commercial buildings and we want to address those other needs, we can do that. But this just gets us a start, and I think it's a lot easier to get enough votes to take this step. If we're just doing parks but only doing residential, because that's where we have a bigger impact and the benefits aren't the same, aren't anywhere close to as beneficial as with commercial. So that's why we only went to parks.
So Keith, the question, and maybe this may be more or better answered by Jay, the economic guy.
Mhm.
If we added this across the board, like most cities have done,
Mhm.
would it deter commercial growth in the city?
I think it potentially could. When
Okay.
we looked at it, as the mayor was talking about, when we looked at it 2019, I think it potentially could, because some of our adjacent communities don't have
Okay, that's good enough.
that.
So
So-
could you, how hard would it be to calculate what an impact fee would have cost Costco?
Yeah, I did that calculation. I didn't actually I did that about a year ago when Costco was coming to look at what that would be. I can provide that to you, but it was substantial.
So did Costco ask about
No.
impact fees?
No.
They did not. Okay.
'Cause
And
we-
Costco is in other localities, aren't they?
Yeah.
Aren't
Yes.
they in these other cities?
And I think in most other places that they've located, the city actually has provided some type of significant incentive.
So my question, Mr. Chairman, is how granular do we want to get on our questions? How in depth do we need to wait till the consultant to ask the consultant those questions?
Grant and I could try to answer any questions that you have. We're pretty familiar with it. There is going to be an opportunity at some meeting in the future, first reading, March the 12th. Yeah, where the consultant's going to be here. But we'd be happy to try to address any specific question that anyone would have.
Well, how do you want to, I mean, I've got several technical questions outlined. We're not going to have a workshop, are we, with the consultant? It'll just be during BOMA.
Well, my thought would be, I would go ahead, Eddie, if it were me, I would go ahead and ask the questions now, and then when it gets to the board on the 12th, isn't it right?
Yeah.
On March 12th, I would ask them again.
And if there's one we can't answer,
Right.
then that way we can make sure to get that to the consultant.
Right, and it's not saying that you guys are wrong, but it further consolidates or makes us feel, that what the questions we were asking were in the same ballpark.
Right.
No pun intended. Whether on that.
So we have the flexibility, the board does, of anywhere short of 71. 71 is the maximum.
Yeah, it could even be more than that, but we'd have to go back and say, okay, now we're adding all these extra projects, or we could thin the projects. But at a point, we need to get it tuned into what we want, because the way we've got it right now is that the development would pay 100%. So, if we later wanted to retract it back a little bit, we would have to make up the difference. So if we said, hey, instead of 7,100, or 71, 74, 7,100, we want to make it 5,100, then the city's going to have to come up with that 2,000
Okay.
later.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's jump right on into
Yeah.
it. I love the parks and I support the parks, but we got greater needs than the parks. In my opinion, we got greater needs. So give me an idea, somebody, Mayor, Keith, Jesse, what kind of expenditures, in my opinion, we don't need more land for the parks. In my opinion, we don't, with what we've got at Drake's Creek and so forth. So it'd be hard for me to support the purchasing more land for parks. So what kind of things can this cover that can see a benefit for the entire city?
So to me, the biggest one is more greenways, but it's also expanding the parks that could, and I agree with you. We probably have enough land for probably the next.
That's what
10
our
to 20
study
years.
showed.
Exactly. Greenways is number one as far as what people wanted more of for the general population. But it's also a bridge over to the land that we have at Durham Farms. It's any grading that we need to do over there so we can use that land, because right now it's inaccessible. It's also some of the buildings we have at Drake's Creek that need to be replaced.
That was one of my questions. So the employee building,
Yes.
this money could be used to replace that.
You don't have to shake your head now.
No, you
It'd
could,
be more
you
maintenance.
couldn't use it to replace that building. You could use it if we moved that building to make that area a parking lot that would expand our ability to have people in the park.
Well, we're gonna do that. We're gonna have to move it because it's in a floodplain.
Correct.
So it will cover it.
No, it will not cover the cost of moving the building.
What about building a new building?
Not unless it's a new.
And
New asset.
that'll be a question that I'll ask the
That's
consultant.
what, I'm answering that as, I've asked that question
Yeah.
already.
To the consultant.
Asked
Not to us.
to
Yeah.
them. And
Yeah. So there are limits to what you can do with it. And if you took out the purchase of property out of it, then that's the lion's share of it. Then it reduces it down, quite a bit. But as you're, I'm sorry.
I don't want to do that. I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
Is we get into a Beatty Farm situation again. Is we have some money, if we have some money set aside, and we've got a significant amount of our population that wants to buy some property to prevent it from being developed and for a future park, that's one possibility. It's not one I foresee, but we didn't see Beatty Farm either.
Well, the expansion of volunteer park will work on it.
yes.
Makes sense.
To build out volunteer park,
Yes.
Yeah.
One other thing too is it could be used as a grant match for like a LPRF grant type of situation where it's I think it's a 50% grant match.
Mhm.
So if it's a $500,000 grant, you could use $500,000 in parks money to match that with it just being set aside already without having to actually use it out of the general fund or bond it.
well, what about LED lights at the parks?
Possible, yeah.
Maybe.
That'd be a new level of service. Yeah.
What about parking lots in the parks?
Adding
If they're
new
new
parking
for
lots,
public.
possibly.
No, fixing the existing ones.
Yeah, I don't think fixing the existing. That'd be too close to
Maintenance.
maintenance. Yeah. And it's one of these things as we're looking at, it's like, gosh, 88 acres, that's all. Do we want that much more parkland over the next 10 years? The thing about it is, as we're growing and more undeveloped land is being gobbled up with growth. I mean, one of the number one things that citizens are telling us in the planning department as we go through all these development things is, they're concerned about all these open spaces, being gone. And, having this resource to be able to purchase property would give us the opportunity to secure more open space land and keep that from development as well. So it's a combination of active parks, passive parks that possibly also, maintain open space that give opportunity for future amenities on that as well.
So let's look at credits on page 25. So if a developer wants to develop a piece of property and they come and they say, we're going to widen this road for a mile, is that a credit that can be used in lieu of payment for parks?
No, because that's a road improvement. And then if that road improvement, and most likely it would be, if they're doing whatever infrastructure improvement that's associated with the development, it's something we're making them do anyway. So, but if they just are like, hey, we want to widen this road, unless it has some park related issue, it's just a transportation improvement, then it couldn't be counted as a credit.
Well, let me read something
Yeah,
from
go ahead.
this. It's it's in the middle of credits. The first is a revenue credit due to possible double payment situations, which would occur when other revenues may contribute to the capital cost of infrastructure covered by the impact fee. This type of credit is integrated into the fee calculation, thus reducing the fee amount. So this capital cost of infrastructure.
Maybe a question for the
Yeah, that'd be-
consultant. I
It
don't
seems
quite
like to me
understand.
that if somebody wanted to develop, say, no, we need you to expand Saundersville Road, or we need you to widen or put a roundabout, that those expenditures should be counted as credits against impact fees, because the city's gonna have to pay for it if they don't.
Right. Now, I think and the consultant can clarify this. I believe we'll make sure that he does. But I think what this is this whole study is focusing on parks, but the basis of some of these things, the preamble on some of these is really related to roads or police or other different examples. So I think that's where that credit thing is coming back. So I think that's probably boilerplate of just what's in there about credits. But we took out the stuff about roads. But I think that's having to do with roads, don't you?
I think so. I think it was probably just a standard thing that was left from the previous
Yeah.
study. But also, I don't think we gave the opportunity for credits in the actual ordinance.
No.
So I want to go into a line of questioning with the consultant on credits,
Okay.
to make sure I understand what those credits could be.
Sure.
You might want to call them and ask them on that, because I don't even have that's a good question.
We may need a workshop.
Yeah,
Yeah, we might have to.
If y'all think so.
I
We
wonder
might,
if that might,
honestly.
because it'll probably get messy at a BOMA meeting, asking all these,
2 hours.
trying to.
Discussion.
So maybe an hour before the BOMA meeting, have a workshop. Of course, I would want, Mayor, the workshop to be advertised and people can come to it. But to have some Q&A,
We do have about $1,000 travel fee with the consultant on each visit, so that would be an extra. Because I guess if we want to have it at first reading on March 12th, we've already got him
Already got him here.
scheduled for that. But it would probably be about an extra $1,000 to get him here for
Again.
an extra.
but we could piggyback the
Yeah.
BOMA meeting.
Yeah.
And save $1,000. It would require some meeting changes.
Or Greyhound.
I don't think he travels by Greyhound.
So you're exactly right. Or we could do, and I'm not expressing preference, or we could do the workshop at 4:00, committee, and then BOMA. I mean, I'm fine talking to the committee chairs on those other two, whatever your preference is. What I don't want to do is I don't want to get to the point where at first reading and we have so many questions.
Yeah.
And if y'all have these questions, it's worth getting. They're good questions.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, is having, I mean, that's just me. But I think we should have a session like that.
You know, I voted against it, Mayor, as you know, last time. It's because of the business aspect of it. And it barely failed 7-6.
I thought it failed 1 to 12.
Oh,
I think so.
I think we all, yeah.
boy, I've lost.
I think there was only one vote, and I'm looking at him.
It might be a sticking point with me. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, but I would also like for us to explore the possibility of going back to what you first proposed. I know it's messy, but I just see so many needs, and I just, you know, in the city, and I want to address those. Growth not only affects the parks. Legally, it may be the cleanest and easiest way, but is it the right way? And so, just my thoughts, Mr. Chairman, and I'll shut up. That's all.
No, and by all means, if you have any other questions that we need to discuss,
So should we schedule it at 4 o'clock? Should we schedule it 3:30? 4 o'clock gives us an hour and 15 minutes.
I don't know, it might be better at 3:30 actually than an hour because you've got 12.
But another option is you could do a Teams meeting anytime. You wouldn't have to travel.
That's
Yeah,
an option.
I'm old fashioned, though. I like to look people
Yeah,
in the eye.
I'm right with you, brother.
Can we get them here?
I can do 3:30.
What to say.
That's a good question.
Because you're going to have 12 aldermen.
4 o'clock on the same day?
Get there early.
So,
to do
yeah,
that.
how long it
We'll
takes.
know by tomorrow.
Yeah, we should
We'll know by tomorrow.
contact you.
I think information.
We don't know
13th?
that.
Is it the
Yeah,
13th?
it's the
12th.
12th.
So
So
it's the 12th of our next meeting, yeah.
what I'll first try to do is talk to the committee chairman about moving their
Yes.
committees up. And this is why.
Oh, okay.
Because
Yeah.
right now, if we do it at 4 o'clock, it means all 13 of us have to come together and 7 of us go away
Yes.
and come back.
Yes.
If we do a committee first, then it just works out.
Perfect.
That's smart.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect.
that would be.
That'd be
good.
safety in general.
Yes. We'll get them to move up maybe an hour and 15 minutes, hour and 30 minutes.
Because they probably could do that. I was trying to think of the chairman. I'm sure that they could.
We need to look at what the possible agendas are for those meetings first. But
Okay.
I can't think of anything. Okay, but I'm happy to do that. If y'all have good questions, and so
Yeah,
let's
I
get
mean,
together.
so what I'm anticipating is we'll have these type of questions on the 12th. And certainly at the board of mayor and alderman, if we get them done previous, we won't be here till 1 or 2 in the morning. So,
And we can send something out to the aldermen
yeah.
and asking for any specific questions,
Yeah.
you know, and then we can kind of have that ready to go, you know, when we have the work
Good.
session.
Yeah.
We could go through those.
Yeah,
All right.
cost recovery section on page 24 is another area that I want to question the consultant on. Cost recovery, past improvements.
Gotcha. Yeah, he can explain that. Those are explaining all the different types. The kind we're talking about doing with our ordinance is the incremental expansion, that one below it. So that's the one that we're choosing to do, would be that one.
Okay.
But we'll be able to talk about that.
So Mayor, if you would just let us know, you know, via, I guess, our email or whatever, you know, or call us or whatever. I know it's got, just however you do it, you know, you do your thing. That's it.
And-
All right.
And Mayor,
Or I may have Jesse do it. I don't know.
and Mayor, I know in the workshops in the past, we've not broadcasted them. But since this is such an important matter, would this be worthy of broadcasting? Well, we'll talk about it later.
I think it would be good to broadcast it because this is a lot more complicated than people think.
Yes, it
Just
is.
digging into this, and the
Yes, it is.
stipulations and the rules, and everybody
Yes.
says we want impact fees, but at the end of the day, it is a lot harder to.
Yeah, I always caution to do those kind of meetings though, because sometimes we get a lot more out of each other when we know, you know, that the camera's not rolling, you know.
I'll send that out also and ask some of the other aldermen. And I completely agree with what you said. The second part of that is that very often we allow conversation from outside the 13 of us.
Yeah.
It's hard to capture all those conversations where the listening public can hear it. Maybe we can work something out.
It's good, but I think we do need one. So let's let's anticipate that happening, and then we'll cross that, bridge when we get to it.
See what the impact is.
All right. Okay, so
Thank you.
what we need to do then, since we are putting it on the agenda for the 12th, is anyone ready to discuss? We've got a proper motion and a proper second. Is there any further discussion on this? Okay. What we're doing, we're going to be voting on it, but we're to move it forward. But at the same time, we're going to be checking on at the.
So is this motion to move it forward without a recommendation or with a positive recommendation?
Okay, that is up. Actually, that is up to the committee.
Yeah,
I
you
I
made
say no
the-
recommendation.
You made the motion,
Yeah.
so no
Okay.
just move it for
Just move
discussion.
it for discussion.
Okay.
I
And is that,
concur.
is that what General did? I'm sorry, go ahead. Did you?
I don't know what general.
You know what? I don't know. I thought it was a positive recommendation.
Okay, well, I don't care what General Committee said. This is us.
So here's my question for y'all. So what, if this passes, you don't want it coming back here before it goes to the board?
It can, yeah. I don't mind. I mean, here's what I don't want to happen. I don't want to hold it up just because one committee is, and I've been one to do it, crying about it. And I've learned my lesson, I guess. If it's in our committee and you want it to come back here, that's what I want, because that's the way that it should be. If you want it to go back to general, that's them.
How about we see what happens at the workshop, and if you want to come back here
Sure.
after the workshop, then we'll come back here.
Fair enough. Okay, does that sound good to the committee?
Yes,
Good
sir.
deal. All right, there's been a proper motion and a proper second, and the motion was to move it to the Board of Mayor and Alderman with no recommendation, just to pass it up there to be placed on the agenda for this, as is, just placed on the agenda. And there's been a second to that. Is that agreeable? All right. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, is everyone ready to vote? All in favor of ordinance 2024-02, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, passes unanimously for going to, with no recommendation, but to the Board of Mayor and Alderman. And we'll be able to discuss it further there. Let me write that down. All right. Let's go on now to trash collection bids.
Thanks for your patience.
And I do, and I appreciate that. Doing that. And I good to see you here. All right. If somebody wants to, or you, oh,
Well,
okay.
we're letting the ladies out.
Oh, okay. All right.
I didn't know that was the plan. Sorry.
Oh, good to see you. Take care.
You too.
All right.
Were they here for the impact fees?
Yes, she works for Southeastern, David Lucky,
Yeah.
and for the
So he's
realtors,
interested.
and the realtors.
No, I'm sure they're, yeah, by the time we get home tonight, everybody will know. But anyway, let's go ahead with trash collection bid. So here, we'll.
All right, so again, we opened bids on December 7th, as we discussed last time, and then we had our trash workshop in January. And based on that discussion, staff was asked to investigate some of the options more in depth. So this is the outcome of that. The options that were analyzed were provided in kind of like a simple snapshot analysis and also more detailed with additional details. So the options presented, one of those once a week curbside,
Right.
with limited bulk collection from Waste Pro, once a week curbside. It's the comparable base bid option from Platform, once a week curbside with the limited bulk. And then additionally, we're presenting the once a week curbside with limited bulk alternate two, which was the other option that we were asked to investigate further. And so those options are presented. We kind of went through some criteria that we thought was important to the board, and so kind of ranked those. And so you'll see that in the simple analysis, snapshot analysis on page 46, where there's some criteria and just some check marks on who was you're really rated the best in those categories, essentially. And then the detailed analysis, of course, has those same three options, but then it has the additional details related to how these were ranked, really. So I'm happy to answer any questions or discuss anything else more in depth.
When do we make a decision on this? I mean, what is I know obviously we would want it as soon as possible, but what, Jesse or Jamie both, where are we on that? Is it
Well,
the next couple months?
Our
or-
contract ends June 30.
Okay, June 30.
With a significant change in service, we want as much time as possible. We already have a kind of a media platform put together, and so we want to get that out as soon as possible. So as soon as we get some direction from the board,
Okay,
we can give residents notice that much sooner.
okay,
And technically, it's not this committee's decision, but
Right.
we need some recommendations.
Yeah. no,
So,
yeah, we could, that's very true. Well, yeah, any discussion on this or to move forward?
You want to review the numbers?
Sure. Yeah, we can go through those. So for this was option A. Remember from the workshop, the Waste Pros once a week curbside with limited bulk. So that number comes in for the 5-year contract with a 2.5% escalator at almost 22 million. The 10-year contract is almost 47 million. And then platform for that same base bid equivalent service level with a 2.5% escalator for the 5-year contract is approximately 23 million. And then that 10-year contract value is right around 49 million. So the comparable base bid at the 2.5% escalator for the once a week curbside with limited bulk does come in low with Waste Pro as the low bidder. Now, when we look at the alternate two for platform, the differences, one of the major differences there is they specified a 5% annual escalator. Additionally, they one of their conditions was a portion of the city would be collected with ASL. When they were reviewing the city and providing their bid, they estimated approximately 50% of the city would be collected with the ASL is automatic side loading arm. So they need special trash cans. And so as part of that, we then included that estimated additional cost for those trash cans. So they did provide, they're offered to provide the first one, zero cost, but then the second can, which is our service level that we've included in our contract, would be additional. So that has been included in this 5-year contract value, since it would be an assumed cost that we would need to take on. So that 5-year contract value with the 5% escalator comes in lower than the Waste Pro's 5-year by $260,000 approximately. The 10-year contract value with that 5% escalator is roughly 49 million. So you see that they do come in at about 3 million higher with that 5% escalator at 10 years if we were to have that contract extension at 10 years.
Is it true platform has only, how long have they been in operations?
So platform was they have an association with Red River, if you will. They purchased their accounts and their equipment out of bankruptcy.
With Metro?
Yes,
Okay.
Metro, and they had several other cities as well. So Red River had longer experience, but we did not account for their experience since this is technically a different company. So they have approximately 1.5 years that they've been providing trash collection.
So is it a new company, or did they just restructure Red River and name it a new company? Is it actually the same people that was running Red River?
No.
It's different.
It's totally different.
Different management, different
Yes.
board. Is it a privately owned company? Is it on the stock market?
No.
It's a private equity.
whichever provider that BOMA selects, one of the complaints that I receive from constituents is that at times on curbside, the garbage can is upside down or it's not, it's in the middle of the driveway. So whoever wins the bid, I hope that we can, address that minor.
Well, and ours, and I don't know if there, we will have the third eye cameras in, so that will give views that we can send videos. You see the front of the truck, side of the truck, back of the truck. You can watch it go up, watch it go down, watch the truck pull up, leave. So if that is an issue in certain areas, we will be able to provide the documentation on what's going on, if it's too close to a mailbox, if that's why it's being moved. Misses, everything else, it's all on video.
We use the third eye cameras at certain locations. We use another vendor here, but we also upgraded the technology that we put because of the requirements of the service verification and the liquidated damages, say in this contract, so that it's got the footage, the verification, because the proof falls on the vendor. So we had to, just to make sure that we were equipped to do so.
So how's the garbage can? If we went with platform, everybody's gonna have to get new garbage cans?
So that's one of the other topics for discussion is it's assumed 50% would be ASL and would need the new cans. So that's the only portion that's included in this estimate. So if the city were to say, well, if we're gonna provide for half, we provide for the whole city, then of course that would be
It's
additional.
one can for every resident, whether they are curbside or ASL or
Right.
not.
But our service level's 2 cans, so there would still be that cost for the second can.
But that wouldn't just, we would provide a card for every unit in the city, not just those that were curbside.
Okay,
But the second one,
right,
if customers needed a second one.
that's right.
So how
So,
big I'm sorry, go ahead.
so in the analysis, you included 50% of the city renting the cost of the second can, which would be borne on the city.
Yes.
Is that what's included in the platform alternate too?
That's right.
So they include one.
Mhm,
If a second is needed, they rent it.
mhm.
But instead of billing the individual, the city would bear that cost. So you assumed a 50% and everyone gets 2 cans. The first one's free and the second one the city pays for.
That's right.
So guys, committee, how are we gonna pay for this? It's almost 1.3 million, the low bid, extra cost to the city. Is this gonna eat up our paving budget? How are we gonna pay for it? This extra incremental cost?
Well, I think that it would, unless you all have found something that we're missing, or this committee or the board's missing, it would probably eat into our overall budget, obviously, in that area, and paving would be part of it. So, am I wrong? I mean, tell me.
That would be my understanding.
Yeah.
So that'd be my best guess also, because probably the most flexibility we have in the budget with the biggest line item is paving. It's $4 million.
Yeah.
And it's not, we have employees that we're gonna pay next year. We know that. We have utilities we have to pay next month. We know that. Flexibility of not paving is.
So Mayor, is a possibility, because I'm thinking of the survey that we did. And people, I think we're in favor of a line item, is that right, on the garbage? A pretty substantial number.
Yes.
So depending, in my thinking, depending on how it goes next Tuesday, if we got to come up with some money, is it possible that for the incremental cost, not for the fixed cost that we've already baked into our property taxes, is it possible for the incremental cost to be line itemed for garbage service going forward?
It is, but my proposal will be for all of the garbage service to be a line item separate in the in the tax year.
And if we did that, we'd have to lower the tax rate.
Yes. And y'all can vote me down again, or reduce it. That's
So
fine.
if we did, Jesse, I sent you this question. If we did just the incremental increase, not the fixed cost that we already have in the contract, but the incremental increase, how much would that be a month and a year that we would have to bill each owner occupied resident?
I think we collect about 20,000 units. So that would be approximately $60 a year. So it would be levied on the property tax bill. So it gets sent one time a year.
$60 a year, and that way it wouldn't affect our paving budget.
See, I'd rather make it $300
I
a
know.
year and
I know.
pave more roads.
I know, but there is an advantage to me of at least the fixed, the constant cost coming from the tax base because it spreads it out.
I agree.
Businesses pay for it, apartments pay for it, but the incremental cost I think is different, and I'd be willing to consider, depending on how things go next week.
I don't think I've told you all that's going to be part of my budget, my proposal yet. I think y'all probably suspected it, that I was going to propose again the trash fee. But just to give you a heads up, that will be in there.
Okay, that's all. So what do we need to do?
Well, I don't really, my feeling is at this point, and I know this is but this is the politician's way out, but realistically speaking, there's not much we probably need to wait for a decision to even talk about it until after next week. I mean, that's my feeling. I don't know. Because then that's going to give us a good idea, and I think that some of the adjustments we will make, regardless of what happens on that, on that issue. I mean, if you all feel differently or you feel scared, just tell them, say, scared. That's the kindergarten's way out. You're just, I see that, but it really, I mean, it is, and I'm not afraid of hard choices, but I think we probably need to wait until. Now, that's my feeling. If you all feel differently, I want you to tell me. How do you feel? I mean, do you feel that we just need to wait until, and are you ready, or do you think we should push forward?
We're running out of time.
Yeah.
The numbers are here.
Okay.
We don't have a lot of room to, it is what it is. So I think we should send it up to Bowman for a discussion.
Well, yeah, I can see that because regardless, it won't be discussed tonight. So really what you're saying is kind of doing this because we'll know by then on the 12th, and then we can really talk about it.
Is it going to be on the next agenda, Bowman agenda?
We don't have a resolution or ordinance form in form yet.
Okay.
So technically, it would need to come back to one committee before it goes to the board.
So technically, this would be an advisory opinion by the Public Works Committee to the mayor in putting forward a recommendation based on the bids. Under the charter, the staff and the mayor make recommendations on bids. Is that right?
You can, not always, but you can.
I mean,
Well, we could do that too, or put it on all of us at the board of mayor and alderman instead of, because I hate to do that to the mayor's office.
Well, it's okay, because at the end of the day, y'all vote on it, so.
Yeah, that's
The
true,
full
but
board votes on
still,
it. So,
I
mean, I've heard the conversation in the discussion we had in the workshop. I feel like y'all give me some direction here.
okay.
What I'll do is I'll put together, at this point, it'd probably just be a resolution. The ordinance form of it would come in the budget. Does that make sense? And I'll bring y'all something back within a month. We might have to have a special meeting on it though,
That's fine. We
unless y'all want me to go a different direction.
No, I think a month asking for a resolution is proper, because I honestly think if we cannot if it's okay with the Public Works Department and Jesse, that can be arranged. I mean, I think we'll have a pretty much where we need to go by then.
A resolution is the firmest form of advice that y'all can give me.
Sure is,
The
yeah.
next step is an ordinance. That's not really advice. That's implementation at that point.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to do a resolution next time we come here? Just to tell me, basically you're telling me what to put in the budget.
But this will have to be an ordinance.
It could be an ordinance incorporated in the budget. I think. I'll talk to Lance about that. But I think that's the way we did it 5 years ago.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
yeah.
And we'll vote on the first budget when? First reading on the budget.
I have no idea. about
Late
that.
May, early June.
That's too late.
Yeah, I mean, our
That's too late
communication
for a
plan, if
decision.
I'm allowed to speak, we mapped it out, just trying to back it up enough because with either of these plans, it's going to be clear that the majority of the city is going to move to curbside. And as Jesse mentioned, we really feel like we have to do our due diligence to get communication out to residents well in advance so that those who need to seek a medical exemption will have ample time to do so. So that they can get their forms in and we can have it noted. So we truly need some sort of direction at some point so that we can move forward with our communication plan.
Yes, I don't think we can move a resolution and then an ordinance for the budget in May. I don't think that gives us enough time. If you want to make a motion, Michael, I'll entertain a second. If you have a comment.
And
Jesse?
just a point of clarification, staff has made a recommendation. If you look in the analysis,
Definitely,
there's one
Yeah.
side that's recommended more than the other.
definitely.
So we're not going to come up with any different type of analysis. We
Yeah,
put
so
this
you're pretty
together.
solid on what you see, all right? Is that correct?
We couldn't justify it any other way.
Right.
We just objectively looked at the data and said who wins in each category, who has the upper
Right.
hand. And that's what we came up with. So we've looked extensively at it and we won't change our position. Another workshop with staff won't change what the numbers say here. We've calculated the numbers, we checked with the vendors, we've put this together and we studied it. So we won't move on it.
Okay. Sarah, do you feel that way out of Public Works? That way you're pretty solid with it? Okay.
Yeah, we spent a lot
Good
of time.
analysis.
Thank you.
Very good. I've done stuff like this and it's very good.
I mean, listen, y'all did a bang up job. I'm telling you, it was really good. Well, so with that being said, I guess we just need to make a motion for a resolution to be brought here by our, when's our next, in March?
Unless you want to schedule a special meeting 2 weeks from now, just for this.
Well, we could, I mean, I'm open game about it, so
So he's right, that would cut 2 weeks out.
sure would.
So,
We'll have a good time.
Do what
I'm
now?
sorry, Mike.
so doing what he's saying, I think would save us a lot more time and give them more time. If we do a special meeting.
Special meeting.
Well,
We're going to be here anyway for the workshop on,
and the committee, yeah.
what I have a hard time with is that at this point, we have never presented an ordinance or a resolution to any committee. So I have a hard time going straight to the board without doing that.
Right.
Because I feel like that's making an exception that I don't think we've ever made before. But I'm fine if y'all tell me what to do now and coming back to you confirm that before we go to the board. But I'd like to do that with a special meeting, not wait a month.
Well, you have a motion, you'll need to make one.
Go for it.
So this would be an advisory motion
Okay.
to the mayor. That would help guide your ordinance. That will be brought back to this committee.
Right.
As soon as feasible. So I make a motion to accept Waste Pro's bid for curbside service with limited bulk, with the opportunity for an add-on service of backdoor service. And it's my understanding that total, 5-year total, is $21,968,215.30. So I will make that motion and as an advisory to guide the mayor in his drafting of a ordinance.
Second.
Okay, there's been a proper, excuse me. There's been a proper motion, a proper second. Now I got most of it was to accept the Waste Pro bid, excuse me, for bid for curb side service, limited bulk with the option to be discussed about the back door. Is that correct?
No, with the add-on feature.
With the add-on
Of the back
feature,
door.
okay.
And they do have an add-on feature.
They do.
Okay.
It's more expensive than platforms, but
With the add-on features, okay. Of a backdoor service. And, but now all the numbers and stuff, there's no way I could get all that down.
no, and it's.
But if it's in the, if it's in the minutes where that can be, okay, all right, it is. And so, if there's any objection to that it needs to be repeated, we'll ask Eddie to repeat it. But if not, I understood it. Did you understand it? I understood what he said. I just couldn't write fast enough to discuss it. Okay, so we've got that motion. Is there any further discussion on the motion? All right, so you know what we're asking. Okay. Everybody comfortable with that? Jesse, Sarah, everything good? Okay. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, it passes unanimously. Got that. Now, okay, that's fine. Just let everybody. All right, now we are at, and he's gonna come right back, but that's not my problem on that one. We still have a quorum, so we'll go to the park maintenance shop update.
Okay, I can have two handouts that were,
All right,
if you want to pass these around, that we worked on since the last meeting last month. We were kind of tasked with coming up with alternate plans for our current situation we're in. This is the second option. So we looked at two options to give our staff a temporary home until we could come up with something permanent.
all right.
Both of those are in your hand. One of them, the one that's on the parks letterhead, involves renting a portable meeting, training room, break room area that will get all our employees under one roof.
Yeah.
Just to give you an example, we did CPR training about 3 weeks ago and AED training, and we all had to come up here to City Hall, and that left nobody in the park because we were training here. So that also gives our mechanic a home where he can work. As you recall from last month, he's probably one of the ones that we were most concerned with being in the old building the most. And in that temporary home for him, with this option, we'll be able to leave that building there long-term for a workspace in the back of Drakes Creek Park permanently if we need it, which we do from time to time, work in the back of the park. That temporary plan that our maintenance superintendent put together comes out to about $75,000. The second option that on the sheet of paper that says the barn store, we asked them to give us a quote to take. If you look on page 4 of that barn store packet, we asked them to give us a quote to take an existing building that's already in our maintenance quad and finish it off and give us a place that's out of the water, heated and aired. And that quote came back at over $200,000, which was surprising to me compared to some work we've done with them recently.
Is that lock and key?
Yes, that would be lock and key. With the exceptions of some things they've called out on page 2 there, I guess you would say. You know, there's some things that say at end of project. But in my opinion, And this is what I think you'll see when you see the mid-year budget proposal that Jesse's and Tamara have put forward. They've included this option that's under 100,000 in the budget request. We've had some donations from the community, and we've done some work in-house on tornado repairs where this would not cause us to have to take money from the general fund to do this.
But it's a temporary fix.
That would be a temporary fix. And also in the mid-year budget proposal, you'll see a line item 45,000 to go move forward with plans for a new shop at a permanent home. Once we got that done, we would bid that out and see what that costs to look at for next year's budget.
That's for design.
Yes, for construction documents.
So the 100,000, how much?
$75,760.
For the temporary?
Yes.
Is there any way that we can not have to pay for that? I mean, is there any way that we can use the new building, the shop at Country Hills?
No.
It's not big enough?
No, it's maxed out already if you go in there. And this gets them all under one roof.
So would we be renting a building?
It would be, just like we have done in Country Hills for the past
What kind of building
10
is
months. Basically, it'd be a double portable classroom like you used to see at the schools 10 years ago.
And this fee is for 1 year?
This would get us through August. At that point, it would just be a monthly rental fee, about middle of the page there. This would get us, April, May, and June. This would get everything installed. From that point, the only thing we would have starting in July would be a monthly rental fee of the building. All the other costs are to set up electrical and water and HVAC, and there's a one-time fee associated with bringing the building and a one-time fee built in on the front end to take the building away once it's gone.
I mean, I'd rather come up with a plan on a permanent building. I mean, is the existing building, is it still showing signs of mold?
Mold, I haven't tested the air in a while. It's the roof's leaking. If we stay in that building, we're going to have to put money into that building at a significant expense. We do not currently have employees working in that building. They're spread out over 4 buildings in the park.
Where are they doing the maintenance?
They're doing, where are they meeting or where are they working?
Where is
Right now, our mechanic
mechanics?
is working in the soccer maintenance shed, and with soccer season starting, we're going to take all the soccer equipment and move it to the old maintenance area in the elements, actually, and not under the cover of our lean-tos, and keep him in there until we can figure out a place.
I mean, if it was determined that we can't do a temporary fix, that we have to move forward with this more long-term fix of a new building, then what would be your plan if we didn't do a temporary?
I don't know. Right now, we have a third of our employees meet in one building that's a public building that's used at night for leagues and officials. We have another third that's in the 2-story concession stand building that's being used every night this week for CPR classes. And then when there's games, that's where umpires and the public get dressed and the leagues meet. And then we have another third in our, what we used to call the inmate building.
So the temporary is going to cost.
Right now we have the public coming in to rooms where our guys during the day have their lockers, all their stuff. But we have people at night coming in there. And with everything starting up, that's the situation we're in.
So the temporary is how much?
75,000.
75,000. The new building would be 200,000.
No, no. This building is an open-faced lean-to building that currently exists.
What did
The quote is for them to come in and enclose it and insulate it and put HVAC and electrical and plumb it to get it to where everybody would be operating in there, mechanic, everybody.
That's a permanent solution.
No, that is still in the floodplain right where our maintenance shop currently is, but it's not been tested for mold. It is above ground compared to where our current mechanic shop and break room is. It doesn't flood every time. It's a 2018 building. The roof's not leaking. It's just it's an option.
So we got 2 temporary plans. We don't have a permanent plan yet.
No, sir, because I don't have plans. I don't have a drawing or construction documents. That's what's in the mid-year budget for us to be able to go get a plan to relocate the shop up on the hill.
It doesn't make sense to me to have 2 temporary plans.
I was just trying to show you that we've done the work to give you the option. I mean,
Well, you've kind of answered our question. Maybe, I mean, I don't see us moving on this until the mid-year budget, until we see what your final plan is, because we may be inclined to support that.
I won't have a final plan before the mid-year budget. We can't go out and get construction documents
Okay,
until the mid-year budget is approved, because
right.
that's where the line item for those funds is.
I see. Okay. Well,
And this is nothing for y'all to vote on. This is for informational purposes.
And again, so what is your estimate? I think you said at one time anywhere from 200 to $1 million for a permanent?
I think that totally depends on what the city requires of the city. If we're allowed to build something similar to the cart barn at Country Hills, then it'll be way lower. If we have to brick it and block it,
So how high is this on your priority list? I know we've got paving that we need to do, all these things in the parks. So where does this fit on your priority list?
we turned in our budget request for FY25 last Friday, and I put this number 1 on my special project priority list. And the only other projects that I put on there were lights for the 2nd rugby field and paving the parking lots.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. Number 1. Okay.
It's for the employees.
yeah.
I mean, it really is. And at the end of the day, I'm the one that has to live with those guys, and they're the ones that keep everybody happy. And if they're not happy, then nobody's going to end up being happy.
Well, I'm afraid there's going to be a lot of unhappy people, with the status quo budget.
Could be.
A lot of unhappy people. So, okay. I don't know what else to say.
Well, there's not really much but I appreciate you putting together these 2 plans that because we are concerned about it. And we'd be foolish if you'd be a dummy to say that you're not, because there's something that is going to have to be done. Because, I see a bill where they all can go work together, because there's something about that, employees working together in the same area, regardless of what, division or position that they have. So but I don't know about, these, I'm going to reread the plans, but I don't ever see us going this way. I just
2
don't see it.
temporary plans. It doesn't make sense to me. 2 temporary plans.
I was bringing you,
Yeah.
I was
No.
showing you that my task that I was given by
Right.
the COO was to bring costs to repair the current building, which we did. It was over $400,000.
Right.
My second task was to bring forward to you all a plan for temporary services to get everybody under one roof until a new building was built. That's what this is. My third task is to provide a location for a permanent home, which we have showed him, behind Field 13 in Drakes Creek Park. To price a building there, we need to be able to go get plans made.
But you can't do
Which I
that.
can't do that until the mid-year
Budget.
budget.
Right. Yeah, I'm with
So
you.
this is step 2 that I was tasked with.
Okay.
And we wanted to make sure that we When we saw this cost first, we
Right.
said, okay, that's not gonna work. What can we do to make this better? So that's where we came up with a second plan, which is what we brought tonight.
Doing a lot of good due diligence.
Yeah,
Yeah, you've
I
worked
mean,
hard on it.
Yeah.
I'm just,
So I'm right with you. I mean, I know what you were asked to do, and you did it to a T. And
Does Parks have a lot of other facilities that are aging, getting in this kind of condition?
Absolutely. I mean, you got the main quad concession stand that's 2 stories tall. It's built in the 70s.
Does our hazard mitigation plan, does that include surveys of our existing assets and their conditions and maintenance needs and replacement needs over 5, 10 years, stuff like that?
The hazard mitigation plan that we just adopted through Sumner County EMA, that would not include anything for parks because they rank, you have to include your critical facilities and infrastructure and kind of rank those, and they don't
Police.
consider parks to be critical infrastructure. So I wasn't,
That building that I'm talking about has 1 stall for the men's restroom. How we don't get calls and complaints, I don't know.
Yeah.
is that the one at Drake's Creek Park also?
So-
I think that's
so-
in the floodway
so-
also.
Mhm.
Andy, our permanent fix for this is an expanded building to also handle future growth of maintenance of equipment and stuff, correct?
I would hope so. Yes, sir.
So to me, that is the definition of an impact fee. It's not only it's gonna deal with growth as well in our parks department. More equipment's gonna have to come to this building to get fixed.
I
More
asked that very
employees.
question.
More, yeah, okay.
They said, no?
Who's, okay.
They said it was not providing a service to the citizens. You had to expand things that were giving opportunities for people to utilize the parks. I agree with your argument. I'm
I
just
do
telling
too.
you.
I mean,
that's-
But you
Yeah,
gotta
that is-
maintain those
I agree.
facilities.
I agree. I
that's
agree.
why we
The
need
first
to
thing
solve-
I asked was when this came up, can we replace things to
Right.
make them better? And they said, no, it has to be expanding your
Was
options
that
and
with
services.
the group that was helping us, or was that our city?
That was in a meeting in this room.
Consultant.
Yes.
So,
But I wholeheartedly agree with asking them again
I think we should.
on the record.
Well, I'll ask them a little tougher maybe than y'all did.
We should.
Yeah, well, yes, I mean,
Impact fees are weird.
all right. Well, is there any further discussion on this? And we'll move right along, but thank you for providing that with us. And I appreciate that, giving us that information for us, and we'll just wait and see, what they say on 12th, I guess it is, or whenever we have our meeting with them. Let's go with the light synchronization update.
So the project that we had been working on is pretty much finished as we discussed last time. So I'll pretty much at this point move on to the phase 2 project unless you have any other questions about the previous project that we're in closeout on now. Okay.
No, we're good.
So phase 2 project, we did finally receive the notice to proceed to design on January 30th. We then, the consultant on our behalf turned around and submitted the preliminary design plans on the 8th of February. I followed up with them and they were distributed for review on the 22nd. So I would anticipate we will not receive a response back. I was hoping to find out some good news that maybe some of the divisions had responded, but anyways,
Not yet, no.
probably another month to 6 weeks. I would anticipate we'd probably have some comments back.
So you're probably looking at April, easily.
Probably.
Okay. Yeah, that's what it figures. All right. Anybody on phase 2? Good. That's good. Well, we're moving right along with it.
We are.
So let's go with our now has been this project has replaced our light synchronization update for now it's called the world famous Saunders Ferry Greenway.
Okay.
So tell us a little about that on the update there.
So that project was officially complete or accepted by the city
Yeah.
January 31st. As you know, we had the ribbon cutting on Saturday.
Oh yeah, we were
February
there.
24th.
Yeah.
We do
was
still have
cold.
some outstanding punch list items that we're working through, and there will be a maintenance period through the growing season, TDOT's growing season, to make sure all of the trees that were planted and things like that take root and grow as they should. So it's not completely wrapped up or in final closeout, but it is substantially complete. We are working with the contractor on the recommendation to seek quotes or estimates or feasibility really on replacing those horizontal members with the cables. So
Oh, okay, good.
we've gone back and forth. They haven't provided anything yet, but we are actively working on that.
Okay, good.
We've got a bond on that, I'm sure. Do we have a bond?
It wouldn't be related to this project. That would be a separate, we can't tie that to the TDOT local programs project,
Okay.
but
Have we been reimbursed by the TDOT for that project?
we have been getting incremental reimbursements as we pay invoices. We request reimbursement for that 80%. We have been receiving reimbursements. Yes.
You don't know where we stand on the 80%. I mean, have they given us 10% of it or 20% of it?
I'm sorry, I don't know. I'm
Okay.
not. That's really a finance
Budget.
question.
That's
Yeah.
fine. That's fine.
All right. Any further on the Saundersville Road? For right now, I know we're still, even though it's completed, but we're still far away, from being out of it. We've got to do the wire thing and to see what that cost comes up. So it'll be back on when you all get to it or on the agenda for the costs on that.
Yeah.
Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, is that we've got, Andy, anything on that, on the walkway, anything you want to tell us?
I think it's one of the nicest things that we've added to the city in a long time.
Beautiful. It's a nice walk.
And most, to me, represents everything good about the city when you walk on there and you see all kinds of people from all different walks of life. Some people you know, some people you never met before.
Oh, yeah.
Strollers, dogs, bikes, fishermen. I mean, it's a great thing. I think it's a game changer for that whole stretch of lakefront, potentially. I hope in a good way.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, I agree
It's
with
been
that.
very well
Are
received.
there need for benches along the
Yes.
way there?
There's need for
Trash can.
benches, trash cans, doggy bags, trailway signage. There's probably a need for a real bathroom at Mallard Point Park at this point.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's, yes. Yes
So-
to all.
So are we gonna ask for private contributions for benches?
We were already receiving some of those.
How much are they? How much
It
would a
really
bench
depends.
cost? Something
Any,
durable.
anywhere from, we're comfortable with any of the ones that are anywhere from 500 to 1,500. If you start getting into different types of material, if you start wanting to make them memorial benches, we don't put regular plywood benches out in very many places anymore for maintenance purposes, but we've had 3 citizens offer to buy a bench at this point,
I would be interested in buying one.
so I can send out the information on that.
Could we get a report maybe in this next committee meeting about,
Sure.
from you, Andy, on benches for the park, for the walkway?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that would add to the uniqueness. And,
Oh, it'd be,
you know,
long term, it's great. I think those are great things to add.
okay.
All right, anything else? Put that on for next.
I think Sarah and her staff did a great job on that project.
Yes.
It's been great. I mean, doing well. Okay, looks like we've got all the other under business. Anybody have anything under other business at all? I know spring is just around the corner, so
Can't come fast enough.
I know, so I'm sure that Public Works will start having our meetings that last a little longer. So, but just can't wait for it, you know. And so we'll have a lot more going on, as I guess is my point. So I just need a motion to.
Motion to adjourn.
Second, we adjourned to 6:26.